Hello everyone. So I'll be taking a class on Hansen's disease or leprosy today. This is an important class. So what I'll be discussing today is a bit of history of leprosy, its transmission, how leprosy is transmitted from person to person, its etiopathogenesis, and microbiology of Mycobacterium leprae, classification, clinical spectrum, systemic involvement in leprosy, and how to diagnose, how to make a treatment, and some of the points about the reactions in leprosy, deformities, physiotherapy, prevention, and rehabilitation. Coming to history, leprosy is one of the oldest infection known to mankind. India is considered as the point of origin of leprosy. Dr. Gerard Henrik Ammer Hansen first described Mycobacterium leprae to be the causative organism long back in 1873. It's also caused by various names by the discoverer Hansen itself, like Hansen's disease and Kushtaroga. So, how is it transmitted? It is transmitted primarily through respiratory route, that is, inhalation of the bacilli laden droplets. This is the main mode of transmission of leprobacilli. But there are other modes of transmission which is still not proven yet. That is cutaneous, that is skin to skin, or GIT, that is ingestion of food contaminated with virus. In utero transmission from mother to baby. Transmission through breast milk. Intradermal, that is inoculation by tattoos. Then incubation period of this is around 5 to 7 years, so it's very difficult to find out how when exactly did the person get the disease. Coming to epidemiological factors, it occurs at all ages. Peak age of onset is between 20 to 30 years. Males are more commonly affected than females. It's less common in children. And women. Occurrence of disease depends on immune status of the individual. Overcrowding, lack of personal hygiene, humidity favors the disease transmission. So when you compare the immunity, if the immunity is excellent, there won't be any infection. If the immunity is poor, very poor, then the extreme of infection, that is lepromatous leprosy, is possible. But in case the immunity is good, then subclinical infection with spontaneous aggression can happen. And if the immunity is fair, then when we usually suffer from indeterminate or pure neuritic or tuberculoid type of leprosy. And if the immunity is poor, then borderline group of leprosy is possible. So classification is, we follow an important classification called as Ridley-Joplin classification. In this, there are types. One is indeterminate type. which is difficult to make a diagnosis. If there is a patch and there is no loss of sensation and biopsy, it's difficult to differentiate. This is what is indeterminate group. Then there is something called as tuberculoid group. Then there are borderline groups, which again has borderline tuberculoid, borderline, that is mid borderline, and then you have borderline lepromatous. Then there is one group called as lepromatous leprosy, which is the most with poor immunity. Tuberculoid group of leprosy is that it's a single or few up to three patches you see, where large, dry, asymmetrical, hypopigmented patches with well defined margin. You see a very well defined margin patch, of which sweating is lost in that patch, sensations are absent, nerves are thickened, presence of feeding nerves are absent. Then if you do a slit skin smear, it is negative. See, whenever we describe a patch in Hansen's, what we see is we see for various aspects like its margin, what is the shape of the lesion, how many number of patches are there, how is the sweating over the patch, how is the sensation over the patch, and you palpate around the patch to see if there are any thickened nerves, and also you see for the thickening of the peripheral nerves. Going to the next after tuberculoid, it is borderline tuberculoid. In borderline tuberculoid, you find up to 10 patches. Surface is dry with hair loss and presence of satellite lesions. Means here the margins are well defined, but at some places the margin is broken and there is a small lesion at the periphery that we call it as satellite lesion. Satellite lesion is seen in borderline tuberculoid group. Sensory impairment is there and it is marked. Nerve involvement is irregular and asymmetrical, and deformities are very common in this group. Patches at the surrounding, which we call it as satellite lesion. Mid borderline is an unstable form reaction frequent. Here is the one unstable form where reactions are frequent. Multiple and asymmetric lesions are seen. Lesions range from papules, macules, and plaques. Plaques show well demarcated edges with characteristic punched out center. Sensory impairment is moderate. Nerve involvement, many nerves involved, and are this type classically start as macule and widespread and symmetrical, later become infiltrated centrally. Papules, nodules, and plaques with sloping edges are common. Sensory impairment is variable more in the center, and nerve involvement is widespread and asymmetrical. Glove and stocking hypoesthesia occurs on a later date. Lepromatous leprosy is most extreme variant where there is lesions are symmetrically distributed, small multiple shiny waxy macular lesion, infiltrated nodular, diffuse or ulcerative lesions can be seen. Macules, nodules, sensory impairment, different type of lesions can be seen here. Macules are small, widespread and ill-defined margins usually, whereas the nodules arise from macules or infiltrated lesions, and sensory impairment is normal or mild. Leonine faces, the face will have a typical look that's called as leonine faces, and infiltration of the skin with nodules, loss of eyebrows and eyelashes are common. Nerve involvement symmetrical, not markedly enlarged, fibrotic and shrunken in late stages. Glove and stocking anesthesia is common. Ear infiltration in the case of lepromatous leprosy, you can see ear is enlarged. Indeterminate leprosy is a commonest presentation in children where there is flat erythematous or hypopigmented asymmetrical macules varying in number, size, and location with vague margins are seen. Common sites are face, limb, thighs. Sensations normal or slightly impaired. Peripheral nerves normal. Skin smears negative. Lepromin test unpredictable and variable. course usually self-limiting and may progress to other form of leprosy. So differential diagnosis of hypopigmented conditions are post-Kala-Azar dermal leishmaniasis, vitiligo vulgaris, pityriasis alba. So vitiligo is you find is depigmented lesions, completely depigmented lesions. Pityriasis alba is an eczematous condition which happens white patches on the face in kids, but these are all transitional. And vitiligo, you can make out that the sensation will be intact and the lesions are more symmetrical and or it is segmental. Post-Kala-Azar dermal leishmaniasis you see in certain areas on these areas. Differential diagnosis continued. It is mainly PLE. You can another thing that is polymorphic light eruption, where you get hypopigmented lesions on the forearms. Whereas the pityriasis versicolor is something which you see on the back, which is a fungal infection, which is also again transitional. For the annular lesions, what you see in borderline group, the other differential diagnosis are lupus vulgaris, that is cutaneous tuberculosis. Psoriasis also can be a differential. Granuloma annulae, tinea corporis, annular syphilis. Tinea corporis is a fungal infection, a ringworm, what we commonly call it as, and annular syphilis. These are all a differential diagnosis for annular. A differential diagnosis for nodular lesion, neurofibromas, and malignancy, sometimes leukemia cutis. These are nodular lesions which could be differentiated from Hansen's. So how to make a diagnosis? Diagnosis can be made by three important cardinal signs of leprosy. Okay, the three important cardinal signs of leprosy are anesthetic skin lesion, that is loss of sensation, nerve enlargement, and demonstration of Mycobacterium leprae. Only one of the three features is needed to make a diagnosis. Even if there is just one of the three lesions or three points are there, you can make a diagnosis of Hansen's. So you should always remember these three cardinal points. Clinical examination, you have to always take a detailed history. You should count the number of lesions, see its distribution, see the size, see the color, see the shape, see the morphology, see for the margins whether it is raised, flat, or ill-defined, or sloping, or punched out. See for the surface whether it's dry, scaly, smooth, shiny, edematous, or ulcerated. And on examination, look for the symmetry, look for the cutaneous nerve twigs over the patch. Over the patch, you should always palpate to see if there are any nerve enlargement. Earlobe infiltration. Always look for earlobe if there is thickened and infiltrated. Sensory impairment over the patches and over the periphery, you check for the sensation. Motor examination, look for the muscle power. And nerve examination, see for the individual nerve functions. Trophic ulcers, look for trophic ulcers at the pressure points. Gynecomastia, look for if there is any swelling of the breast. Loss of hair and sweating. Associated loss of hair or sweating with the patch should be looked for. On clinical examination, check for the sensation, check for the touch, temperature, pain, and also do the motor examination. Checking for motor power has to be done. Nerve examination, check for enlargement, tenderness, nodularity, abscess, and scoring system. For this is basically normal, we give it a score of 0. If it is enlarged, you give it as +1. If it is moderately enlarged, you give 2 plus. If it is very much enlarged, give 3 plus. C for the nerves, especially the supraorbital nerve, greater auricular nerve, ulnar nerve, median nerve, radial nerve, lateral popliteal nerve, anterior posterior tibial nerve, sural nerve, cutaneous branches of radial nerve. Investigations of Mycobacterium leprae, you do certain investigations such as bacteriological examination. We take a slit skin smear by taking a small nick in the earlobe and then take a smear out and stain it with Ziehl-Neelsen method. Then we have a look at we giving an index, bacteriological index and morphological. So how do we treat this? The treatment of leprosy, WHO gives two important categories, that is paucibacillar leprosy and multibacillar leprosy. Paucibacillar leprosy we treat it as using rifampicin and dapsone only, whereas multibacillar leprosy you have to treat it as with rifampicin, clofazimine, dapsone and along with the dapsone and clofazimine. That is clofazimine is added in multibacillar group. Paucibacillar leprosy treatment is for a period of 6 months, whereas the multibacillar treatment is for a period of usually this medicine is given in blister packets, very easy to easy to use, handy and convenient. Provide complete treatment for 1 month and then improves the clinical attendance. If you give it in blister packet, they have to come and take back the packets. And drugs are better protected here against moisture, heat and accidental damage, ensures quicker dispensing of the drugs and can be dispensed by non-medical personnel. So these are the blister packets. This is multi-drug therapy MB and this is multi-drug therapy. PB, that is possibacillary, and these are for kids. Leprosy, though it is a non-emergency condition, there are certain days when it is has certain emergencies. That is what is reactions, lepra reaction. These are acute episodes, bouts of exacerbation occurring during the course of this. Otherwise, chronic disease. It is a sudden tissue response resulting from liberation of bacilli or their products into the tissue, manifestation of which are local or systemic. Sudden increase in the activity of existing lesions, appearance of fresh lesions with or without constitutional symptoms. Type 1 reaction is all borderline cases. Type 2 is reactions are seen in lepromatous, lepra and some borderline cases. So there are two reactions, type 1 and type 2 reaction. So why does a reaction happen? Reaction happens because of the certain precipitating factors such as in pregnancy or lactation. When you start the anti-leprosy drugs with iodides and several severe physical stress or mental stress is there, surgical stress is there, or if there is an infections, alcohol intake, this can some of the precipitating factors. So type 1 reaction is a reaction which is actually a hypersensitive reaction. It's type 4 hypersensitive reaction, but remember what it is further subdivided into upgrading and downgrading. What happens here is existing lesions become very tender. They become very red, very inflamed. Sometimes new lesions can occur, but most of the time existing lesions worsen. Um, the nerves become very tender. The neuritis and nerve abscess is very common, and systemic disturbance here is unusual. Whereas reaction, systemic reaction will be more common. So how can we make a diagnosis? We can, most of the time, it's clinical. That is, you see and you can make out the diagnosis. If not, if you are confused, you can always take a biopsy. Complication here is very common, especially in the form of neural complication, that is neuritis, dactylitis, edema of the hands and feet, corneal anesthesia, conjunctivitis, sudden occurrence of claw, hand, foot drop, or facial palsy. Type 1 reaction with enlarged nerves and nerve abscess. There's a and type 2 reaction. What is type 2 reaction? Type 2 reaction is one which occurs in borderline groups, especially borderline lepromatous and borderline lepromatous group. Mm. So what happens here is it's a type 3 hypersensitive reaction where multiple crops of new lesion occur. These lesions are multiple crops of tender, warm, recurrent, evanescent erythematous nodule distributed bilaterally symmetrically located on the thighs, legs and face occur. Vesicular lesion can occur which break down to form ulcers. Erythema nodosum leprosum precedes fever, malaise, headache, and joint pain. This is the new lesions. What happens in type 2 reactions are called as erythema nodosum leprosum. Other manifestations are rhinitis, iridocyclitis, episcleritis, dactylitis, epididymo neuritis, bone pain, and lymphadenitis can happen. And diagnosis is usually again clinical. Slit skin smear show broken bacilli, biopsy vasculitic features are seen. These are the clinical pictures. Erythema nodosum leprosum. Type 2 reaction, there are certain complications which are also seen, such as frozen hand, mm, such as frozen hand, mm, frozen hand, laryngitis, non-paralytic deformity, laryngitis, non-paralytic deformity, polyarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis-like syndrome, multiple dactylitis, leukocytosis, anemia, and raised ESR can be seen. Uh, yes, circumcision, albuminuria, nephrotic syndrome, liver or spleen enlargement, epididymitis, orchitis, testicular atrophy, or sterility, gynecomastia, adrenal or gland hyperfunction, eye involvement, all these can be seen. So, how do you treat this? Mild reaction can be treated with analgesics, severe reaction needs treatment such as corticosteroids, antimalarials, clofazimine, thalidomide, methotrexate, cyclosporin, azathioprine, and mycophenolate mofetil. Supportive management is more important, where we surgically decompress the nerve. Sometimes splints can be given, and scrotal support for epidermolysis. And there are certain newer drugs also for ENL, such as leukotriene inhibitors, thalidomide, infliximab. Deformities and disabilities in leprosy, important thing. Deformity is a visible alteration in the appearance which results in disability, whereas disability is a restriction or lack of ability to perform an activity considered which is normal for human being. Primary deformities are those which are caused by tissue reaction of the infection with Mycobacterium leprae. Example, leonine facies, flat nose, claw hand are all primary deformities. Secondary deformities are those which occur as a result of damage to the anesthetic part of the body. For example, plantar ulcers, corneal ulcers and all. How do we grade? The WHO has graded deformities and disability as grade 0, grade 1 and grade 2. Grade 0 is no anesthesia, no visible deformities or damage in the hands, feet or in problem in the eyes or no visual loss. Grade 1 is anesthesia is present but no visible deformity or damage. Eye problems due to leprosy present but vision not severely affected, 6 by 60 or better, and they can count fingers at 6 meters. Whereas grade 2 is visible deformity or damage present in the hands or feet and severe visual impairment or unable to count fingers at 6 meters or lag of thalmus or iridocyclitis or corneal opacities are present. Deformities, we have primary deformity, which is leonine faces, loss of eyebrows and eyelashes, depressed nose, gynecomastia, and palatal formation. Secondary deformities, we have corneal ulcerations, opacities, plantar ulcers, palmar ulcers, and ulcers on the tip of the fingers, resorption, Charcot joints, etc. Deformities are claw hand. Deformities are claw hand, ulnar claw hand, that is ulnar and median, and clawing of the toes, which is because of the involvement of posterior tibial nerve. Then you have wrist drop, which is mainly because of the radial nerve involvement, foot drop, which is because of the lateral popliteal nerve involvement, and lag of thalmus, which is due to the facial. Trophic ulcers are something which is commonly seen, especially in the foot. It goes through different stages, especially threatened ulcer, concealed ulcer, open ulcer. Threatened ulcer is a process of tissue damage starts associated with inflammation, presents as edema, warmth in the region of metatarsal head with associated deep tenderness and increase in interdigital gap. Concealed ulcers are those which is damage to the subcutaneous tissue present as necrosis and blisters at the site of damage. Open ulcerations are those which skin breaks down and tissue damage site is exposed to form a frank ulcer. Type of ulcer which can be acute ulcer or chronic ulcer, complicated ulcer or ulcer. Prevention of deformities. We have adequate treatment of leprosy patient, early detection of nerve damage, prevention of nerve damage, protection of anesthetic hands from the injury, care of hands with weakness or paralysis, use of protective footwear, adequate hydration of the skin, and physiotherapy. Management of deformities. Management of deformities. We have education of the patient regarding prevention of injuries, daily examination of hands and feet, daily examination of hands and feet, and prompt treatment of minor injuries. Using adapted tools and appliances after training, reconstructive surgery, rehabilitation, oil massage or wax therapy uses, which is a part of physiotherapy, to make the skin soft and supple and loosen the stiff joints. It's very important to give a good massage as preliminary to the exercise to strengthen the muscles and keep the joints mobile. To reduce the pain in acute neuritis, we use physiotherapy. To stimulate the innervated sweat glands to increase the blood flow, and exercises are very important, active and assisted exercise, to increase the strength of the muscles and retain their tone. There are some things we use electric stimulation where they maintain the tone of the denervated muscle, help in breaking the post-operative adhesions before tendon surgery, could be used as a means of documenting nerve damage and progress of the nerve recovery with the treatment. So there are certain splints which are used for especially in acute neuritis, mobile deformities, to prevent the fixed deformities, and in fixed deformities to correct the existing deformity. Various splints used are for radial neuritis, static or dynamic wrist or drop splint. For mobile deformity, you use static or dynamic splint. For fixed deformity, you use gutter splint or finger ropes, etc. Splints for various deformities: hand deformities, gutter splints, finger loop splints, opponent splints, and abductor bands. Foot deformity use Y strap for the spring, single elastic. So prevention and control of leprosy use very important is early detection through survey and initiation of the treatment. Families of patient to be kept under surveillance. Immunoprophylaxis, use of leprosy vaccines, improvement in the socio-economic condition is equally important. Leprosy control, three activities of a leprosy control unit is case detection, case holding and including treatment, health education of the public and patients. The one of the last most important component is rehabilitation. After treatment, a very important thing is rehabilitation. You give physical and mental restoration of the patients to the normal activities so that they are able to assume their place in the home, society and industry. Treatment of physical disability, education of the patient, family and public, rehabilitation in special homes or institutional rehabilitation, community-based rehabilitation. So that's about leprosy. If there is any doubt, you can mail me to my mail ID, trshrichharith@gmail.com. Thank you.